What's up, y'all? And welcome to the Bumpin' Dots with the Docs podcast. I'm Dr. Ashley C. Thomas, and I have my dad.
And I'm Dr. Herb Thomas. What's up, everyone?
We are Bumpin' Dots with the Docs podcast, and it started with my dad's book, Bumping Dots, which was released April 11th. It's on Amazon. It is a national Amazon bestseller, so congrats to you, Dad. And let's talk about it a little bit. Let us know, Dad, who are you? And let's start with who we are first before we get into the book too much. But go ahead.
Yes. This is Dr. Herb Thomas. I'm a father, husband, educator, mentor, entrepreneur, and as Dr. Ashley mentioned, a best-selling author through Amazon. Yes.
Okay, and so I'll introduce myself after this, but Bumpin' Dots, just tell us a little bit. What is Bumpin' Dots, Dad?
Yeah, bumping dots is simply recognizing and taking advantage of those chance encounters, which we call bumps, between individuals that we call dots, that could lead to potential connections and relationships and unexpected opportunities.
Okay, so I know people are going to want to know what's the difference between that and networking, but we're not going to get to that just yet. So I'm Ashley C. Thomas, Ash, and I am a travel dot, a film dot, a singing dot. My background is in communications and education. That's what my degrees are in. And I love connecting with people, but I'm definitely an introverted dot who can appear extroverted. So with Bumpin' Dots, you have these serendipitous encounters. What is the difference between Bumpin' Dots and networking?
The difference is very simple. When you think of networking, you think of something that has a preset agenda. It carries more of a business connotation. For example, if you're going to a real estate meeting, you're going to network, you're going to have questions about, do I invest in multifamily or single family housing? Do I flip houses? Do I use Section 8? How can I get financing? So you have that preset agenda. Whereas with Bumping Dots, you just allow the relationship, you allow what happens to happen organically. And that's the main difference between Bumping Dots and networking.
One is a preset agenda, and then the other one.
The other one is that you allow whatever's going to happen to happen.
Okay. So Bumpin' Dots is letting whatever's going to happen. So why are we doing this podcast? Like, we're not strangers. I'm your daughter.
Yes,
why are we
you
doing
are.
this podcast? Why are we doing it together? The people want to know.
Yes. Well, we're definitely honored to have a father-daughter duo doing a podcast. What we're doing here, we're just bringing together our experiences, and we want to share and bring together seasoned professionals who will share their experiences and their stories and strategies and insights on how they connect, how they bump dots, and how they nurture relationships with people. And that's what you and I have done all of our lives.
Daddy, I'm so proud of you. You've been on tour, and we've been with you every step of the way. You started off in Douglasville for your book launch, where I did the Q&A with you to let people know what to expect. And then you've been on the road ever since. So tell us a little bit about your book tour for the people who don't know.
Yes, you, your mom and sister, all of us on tour together. This tour has been so exciting, not only for me, but our family, to get a chance to, number one, go visit different sites, but to really interact with people, folks coming up and just talking about how they see themselves in the book and how they're learning strategies and some of the things that I talked about they implemented. We've been to North Carolina, Douglasville, Georgia, Alabama. We're getting ready to go to Utah pretty soon. So I'm excited.
Did you have a favorite moment? Each stop has been unique when I think about it, because you've been to churches, you've been to conferences, you've been to your own launch party. But what are the memorable moments so far?
Well, To be honest, all of them my favorite. It's like asking who's your favorite child.
Oh my God.
But I just people coming up and sharing stories, their own personal stories. To me, that tells me that hey, this book really resonates in their lives.
I think as your daughter, it's been really cool witnessing, I guess, people catching on so quickly. I've seen you bump dots your entire life, my entire life, because I haven't
Yeah.
known yours. And soon as you say the definition, people are like, oh, I bump dots all the time. And then they'll start using it. We'll overhear them using it in conversation with someone else. So I like just seeing how people catch on and it really resonates with them about the concept. That's part of my favorite. I think Raleigh was really cool because it was such a diverse crowd when we went to the
The family engagement symposium.
Yeah, that was really cool because you had people from all different kind of orgs, like fraternities and sororities, different racial backgrounds,
Different parts of the country.
Yes. And so they all related.
Different professionals.
Yes. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that part. Now, what have you learned about yourself since writing this book and being on tour?
Yeah, it's just I was stretched. Something that I thought would, because I bumped dots, that, it'll be easy for me to do it. But to be honest, as I started to delve into it, I had to stretch myself and to get out of my own comfort zone because I wanted people to really feel my heart in this, that it wasn't just words on paper, but it was a lifestyle. It was my history. It was something that will connect the two of us, the reader and myself. And that's what I found out, that it really stretched and pushed me.
This book is you, but it's like a living document in a sense. It's evolving because, like you say, you're being stretched out of your comfort zone. I couldn't write bumping dots because I'm still learning how to bump dots, like as an introvert,
Right.
just to get out there, and I'm doing better. But I have examples of like how applying the concepts of your book has allowed me to meet new people and engage and be more present. So it's good hearing that you haven't arrived where it's this perfect way of bumping dots that is constantly evolving. It like you was about to say something.
No, it's just that you are right. As a new author, I don't feel as though I have arrived. I feel as though there's much more that I can put into the next book and the book after that, because more information is becoming. I'm receiving more information as I'm out on the tour, as I'm talking with neighbors and other people. It's a lot of more meat on the bone that we're gonna get.
Yes, it's in you. It's just coming out, and I think that's the cool thing about bumping dots is. You didn't know you had it in you. Like I had a friend who was talking about how introverted she is at one of the events that we had. Right. But when you see her, it was like using bumping dots in that conversation actually got her more out of her shell. And she didn't even realize. I had to say, girl, you would fool me. I would think you were more extroverted because of that. So I think that's the power and the beauty of bumping dots. All right, Dad. So you have this really cool concept, bumping dots. But how did it get started? Like, what's the history of it?
It's funny because the history started actually when I was a youngster. My dad pastored different churches, and we would move around, and I was kind of forced to meet people. So I would just go up to people and introduce myself. Now, remember, I'm about 8, 9 years old. And I would go and introduce myself. And in the car going home after service, my parents would ask me, well, how did it go? Did you meet anyone? And I would be like, yes. They were like, who did you meet? And I would just start naming people, like their spouses, their children, and their favorite TV show. And my mom would be like, how did you get all that information, especially from grown people? And I would simply be like, I ask. So then we fast forward. I'm in college now, and I'm talking with people because in college you meet people from different states, different countries, And that intrigued me a lot. And I began to just open up and just ask questions and answer questions and find out about people's cultures. And for some reason, by me having an open mind, I really connected with individuals. And I became a manager for the teams, for the football team. I was the head equipment manager, which allowed me to bump dots not only with the players and the coaches, but with faculty members, administrators, alumni. So that began to fine tune the bumping dots. And then when I graduated, entered the workforce, I understood the power of connecting, the power of relationship building. Mm-hmm. And people would often ask me, well, Herb, how did you meet that person? Herb, how did you forge that relationship? And at that point, I just started saying, I think I'm on to something. And I would just write notes on how I would meet people and what I would ask and what they would ask me. And that's the history of bumping dots. And now that I'm retired, I said I need to put this in a format where I can share with other people on how to really connect and forge and build relationships.
So when did you realize you were good at this? Like around what age, what time?
Around 8 or 9. Dang. So because people, I was never afraid. I'm one of those people, they say, never met a stranger.
Right.
That's me. Never met a stranger. True. And I look back at my life and I'm like, I'm 8, 9 years old and I'm sitting here having conversation with people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s that's old enough to be my parents,
and
right?
You're engaging, like.
Yes, I was very engaging. And I think that's what intrigued them, that the type of questions I asked had to be thought-provoking. It wasn't the typical question that an 8 or 9-year-old would ask someone in their 30s or 40s.
What can people expect moving forward? I guess like our next topics, we want to bring all different kind of guests. So we have politicians, people in the film industry, authors, sports figures, social media influencers, like all different aspects of the world, because that is what Bumpin' Dots is. You don't know who you'll run into. And when you read his book, especially chapter 3, The Art of Happy Accidents,
yes,
you'll see how you could just be enjoying yourself and you don't know who you're bumping dots with. And so we want to talk about all different kind of topics, like introverts compared to extroverts. What else?
Yes, we got getting out of your comfort zone, managing relationships and expectations, navigating different personality types, impact of fraternities and sororities, yes, and understanding the nuances of politics. We have other topics that are coming up, and we're excited about what's coming next. And we definitely want you to tune in to Bumpin' Dots with the Docs podcast.
Yes, so I'm about to get you. I have a question that I did not share with you before. It's nothing deep, but I wanted to know, what is the type of dot you were before that you no longer are now? So, for example, I was a college professor dot, but I'm not anymore. I'm still a teacher at heart, but I'm not in the classroom anymore. What's the type of dot you used to be, but you're not?
Yes, I was college administrator dot. Not that anymore. A correctional officer dot. Not that anymore. Throughout my professional career, I've held several positions. Homeschool communicator at a junior high school. So I've had the K through 12 experience as well as the post secondary experience. So I'm not those dots anymore, but I'm still a mentor dot.
Yes. And so there's things that are like based on position, and then also the core of who you are. You are a mentor, even though you're not fulfilling those roles. And so that's why I think a key point between networking and bumping dots is networking might look at the outward appearance. And on the surface, I want to talk to the person with this title or this image. But when you're present through conversation, you could start talking about sports, and somehow it gets to a school and you're like, oh, well, I was a mentor and an administrator at the school. And then they realize, oh, they have this particular thing in common. So it's just a reminder that as we go about our weeks and things like that, not to get so caught up in people's titles that we miss the essence of who they are as a dot. So we just wanted to drop that little gem, but go ahead.
But yeah, that's one particular strategy that I want to really focus and highlight. And this is one that a lot of people overlook when it comes to communicating and connecting with a person. And that is the power of listening. Mm-hmm. Notice I didn't say hearing, listening. Hearing is just you acknowledge that a sound was made. It could be an organized sound or indiscriminate sound. But listening allows you to decipher what you just heard. And the story I want to share with you, a couple of weeks ago, I was on a Zoom call with an individual, and we were talking, and I was telling them about my book, and they were telling me about their job. And at the end of our Zoom, I asked her, I said, "Are you of Haitian descent?" She said, oh my gosh, how did you know? You picked up on that. How did you pick up on it? And I told her, I said, what I ascertained from our conversation, that you say you were born and raised in Miami and used to live in New York, and you have family in New York. Well, both of those cities have what we call heavy Haitian populations. I said, also, by me doing a lot of traveling and bumping dots, I bumped dots with Haitians, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, and I noticed there are certain words. They have the way they pronounce certain words, and I heard you with a couple of words, and I kind of put it together. And at that moment, she said, "What's the name of your book again?" She actually stopped, went on Amazon, and ordered the book.
Wow. You weren't doing this to get her to buy your book. You were just being present, and clearly that showed you were paying attention and listening. So that's a really cool
that's
example.
called
I've done that
present.
to people before.
Yes.
Now, sometimes I've gotten it wrong. So.
Okay.
But it's good that, you really were listening and in tune with her. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, so something people may not know about you, and I think you should be in the Guinness Book of World Records for this. You know what I'm about to say?
About birthdays or something?
What's your gift, Dad?
Yes. I really believe it's a gift from God that I remember people's birthdays for some reason. I don't have to write it down, and I remember facts and details about people. And that's part of bumping dots, to be fully present, to be engaged. And this thing that I have, Ashley, is called the power of 3. Okay. And what the power is 3 is when you meet a person, if you can remember 3 things about them, their name, their favorite color, where they're from, their spouse's name, where their children went to high school or college, any 3 things, if you can commit that to memory, and when you see that person again, you bring it up, that shows different things. That number one, you were actually listening to them, and that they feel as though they were important enough to you for you to remember those 3 details about it. I mean, companies do that. Their tagline is 3. Like McDonald's, I'm loving it. Kentucky Fried Chicken, finger licking good. Matter of fact, they don't even go by Kentucky Fried Chicken no more. They go by KFC. Nike, just do it. And all of these companies understand the power of 3. So that is definitely a gift that I have of remembering details about people.
That's true, because it makes people feel special, and something I like to do if during conversation, remember what I have in common with the person, because it creates a sense of connection. Okay, we both went to this school, or we both did this particular activity. And so when you're talking about remembering birthdays and it's like God-given gift, I do want to note that when it came to bumping dots, at first, you were like, well, it's just a God-given gift. Remember, like you were, and our mom kind of challenged you in a loving way. She brought it to your attention that I'm sure there's a way that you can package this so that everybody can relate. And so through that, it caused you to like really sit down and put it in very like actionable items that people can do in practical ways, instead of just like, well, I'm just the extra, I'm just good at this.
Yes, it's funny because earlier when we were talking, I talked about one of the challenges for me in writing this book is stretch me. It got me out my comfort zone, and that was part of being stretched and getting out of my comfort zone. And I had to be able to write this book to put these strategies in what we call a universal language, where other people can understand them, and not only understand them, but able to implement the strategies and implement them with a level of confidence.
I am so excited about people from all different backgrounds reading this because I've read it 3 times already, and regardless of personality type, if you're introverted or extroverted, whatever your background is, it really is something you could take and make it your own. But please feel free. We want you to connect with us on social media. So my dad's at Dr. Herb Thomas.
Yes, follow me. Let's connect. Let's bump dots on all social media platforms at Dr. Herb Thomas. And my website that I have is drherbthomas.com. That's drherbthomas.com.
Yeah, so please feel free to reach out and let us know of any topics you have in mind for advice. This isn't about regurgitating the content of the book, but how can we apply it or get thought-provoking discussions surrounding how we can view bumping dots differently. So we thank you all so much for this being our first podcast ever that we've done.
Yes, first ever.
Dad, you got any final remarks before we close out this episode?
Just want to thank everyone for tuning in and purchasing the book, visiting the website. And as Dr. Ashley said, that we have several other topics, a variety of topics and guests that we're going to bring on just to share their wisdom, their insight, and stories of how they build relationships, how they connect, and how they bump dots. So thank you, and we look forward to future episodes.
Yes, thank you all so much wherever you're listening, whether riding in your car, sitting at home, or in the cafe bumping dots. We just want you to keep bumping. We love y'all.
Love you.
Till
Keep
next
bumping
time.
dots.
All right.